Just to briefly review the market numbers today, pretty much was up across the board on the major indices. Dow Jones Industrial was up 0.11%. The S&P 500 was barely up $2. Nasdaq was up barely $3, and the Russell 2000 was up 0.22%. So really, the biggest mover of the day was Bitcoin. Bitcoin was down roughly 2% today. We'll give some more detail on what's going on with Bitcoin, the upcoming report, and etc. Gold was down slightly, and the euro US dollar was up slightly as well. But again, tonight's show, what I want to get into is our special guest. I have Mitchell on. Go ahead and bring him up. All right, can you hear me, Jacob?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
Good, good. I just want to, introduce you to everybody real quick. Jacoby, aka Fresh, is a financial
Yeah.
advisor here in, Oklahoma. He's also a great local rapper. So, this brother's been on my radar for several reasons. He was a part of a great discussion that took place at Douglas High School several months ago here in OKC, where some local group brought down Dr. Boyce Watkins and Angela Ryan. He was on that discussion panel talking about, the importance of investing, which is what you guys know, what is something I strongly preach about. So I definitely wanted to have him on the show to give another perspective of why investing is important for the black community. So if you could sum up your like top 2 or 3 reasons why people should be getting started on investing that haven't, or should be continue investing that have, when it comes from, a black family of, that black perspective.
Man, I of course, just to be public, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you for giving me this opportunity. Really appreciate the show that you put on and the work that you do. So I much respect, bro. But man, to answer your question, my two things that are essential to the black community about investing and why it's so important to me is, of course, the first reason is the generational wealth gap, with a racial wealth gap, really, where we're so far behind due to the history of the country that we've inhabited, of course. And the second reason is for the future, So I guess the past and the future, just for the fact that we fell so far behind, not by our own doing, of course, but then also to get ahead, or really to catch up and then get ahead by our own doing. So we're in a debt, but we have to overcome that with no, I guess, investors. So it's just a matter of us being responsible with what we have, and being good stewards, and really understanding what's important to us and what we really want to do, and taking action on that.
Definitely, definitely, man. Um, you know, when we are, comparing the, wealth situation, not just income, because we already know how income, the black male makes, 80 something cents on the dollar to the white man, and black female makes something like 60 something cents to the dollar compared to a white male in this country. But, which is already, putting us on an earnings uh, a worse foot from an earnings perspective, from wealth, um, being that, for the first 400 years, being a property owner for us wasn't really even an option. And then once we started acquiring, property, homes, and businesses, how, you know the the structure of this country put us from, 100-fold behind the average white family.
Yes, sir.
So,
Definitely, man.
so the average black household has what I think I see different quotes anywhere from 1,700 up to 3,700, depending on how they're calculating it and what they're including, like car and your furniture, which really aren't assets at all, which really are just depreciating commodities at this point in time. But um, you know, how does investing today help turn around that picture 5, 10, 20, 50 years from now?
Man, because I think it's important, of course, to acknowledge when we talk about the history of our community, to talk about that. Of course, after slavery happened, I mean, our ancestors like went to work. You know what I'm saying? Like they built quick, purposefully, with intent. You know, it was they invested. They were smart about it. Because they realized how important it was because I mean, they had that fresh in their mind as far as where they came from and how far they were behind. So, same thing with when we the Black Wall Street here in Tulsa. You know, when they came in and terrorized the whole spot, where they just basically said, okay, we let you guys free from being slaves, and we told y'all to figure out how to build your way up, and you guys figured it out with no education and no money. But since y'all figured out, we didn't want y'all to figure it out, so we just gonna terrorize what y'all had. You know what I'm saying? So now we're at a place where almost that's just now, I think, what, becoming a hundred years anniversaries in a couple of years. So that's still fresh on our minds. So now it's important for us to build our own, because if we want to stop things like police brutality and things like racial systemic racism in the workplace, gender bias, all these different things that are politically infused, that seem to be politically on the surface, seem to be political on the surface. A lot of those things can be influenced with money, and which is why a lot of these things are influenced with money now with super PACs. So the whole idea is that if we can create a community of families who are empowering their own families by investing in themselves and their family, whether it's in the stock market, in businesses, real estate, whatever, as long as they're investing in their families and they're building their own assets and net worth, the idea is that we get these communities full of our families who have empowered ourselves, where we now can funnel our money together because we have college funds, we own our homes, we have retirement plans. So now, with the other discretionary money we have, after we've set our future generations up this way, now they can pull their money together and create their own educational institutions. They can have their own schools, their own media companies. They can have their own police departments. We can have community-owned. It can go as far as super PACs, in politics, where we can literally directly influence policy for our best interest because we have money. Because at the end of the day, that's all that happens now is with Citizens United and things like that. So it's of uber importance. There's nothing more important, in my opinion and in my belief, than to empower ourselves through financial literacy and through investment and building wealth. There's nothing more important, in my opinion.
I don't know if you can hear me, but as a financial advisor and a financial planner yourself, what is
Yes, sir.
some, uh, you know, down bare bones tips that you would give to someone that's looking at themselves living paycheck to paycheck? How can I, as someone in that situation, would you advise them to get started into savings, getting started into investing, and the benefits that would give them, not just even, today, but how those small changes can benefit them in the future?
I think identifying and acknowledging what you need and what you want is important, and identifying that some things that we spend money on are assets, some things are liabilities. So understanding the difference in the two, understanding what we want to do in the future, and then kind of mapping it out. So for me, cutting expenses uh, is usually easier to do than to make more money. So if we can look at the way we spend our money and say, okay, I'm spending $50 a month on Starbucks every month that I could be putting into an IRA, or I can be putting this into a savings account for an emergency fund. I can be putting it into a life insurance policy or a college fund for my child. Whatever that may be, whatever your goals are, we have to kind of prioritize what's important to us and act on that. Because a lot of us say family is most important to us, but then, so one question I ask my clients, I'll say it in this way. I usually ask them, so what's most important to you in your life? And they'll say, of course, family, health, their future, these things. So I say, okay, what are the top three things you spend money on? A lot of a lot of the times it's things that are important to them. So it's things like I'm saving, I'm I'm investing, I'm building a business, things like that. That's great, but a lot of the times they're also I'm shopping, I'm buying fast food, I overeat out, I eat out too much. So looking at these things, and if we're doing things undisciplined and things that are not aligned with our priorities and our values, then we have to get that in order. So we either have to face the reality that we don't really value those things like we say that we do, or we haven't been acting on the value that we really have. So I think that's the first step, because it's such a psychological thing to where we have to have a mentality shift in building wealth, because it's shifting from a consumer to a creator, and that consuming mindset is conditioned into us, and it's filtered to us every day, at every minute, every second, with Twitter and Instagram and these marketing ads, and all these ads are wanting you to buy this, consume that, and it's never to build your own, because you consume it, of course you lose the value, it depreciates, they have your money now. When you invest, when you create, it takes time sometimes, but you build value when you get that gain. So it's very important to be aware of that, man. And I think that consumer mindset is something that we have to be aware of and cognizant of, and intentionally redirect and fix.
Right. No one's saying that you have to, not treat yourself, but, you know, put everything into perspective, put everything into, context. And,
Definitely.
if you're spending 10, 15% of your monthly income, like you say, on things like eating out and, you know, turning up, I mean, hey, is that what's really going to benefit you 5 years from now?
Absolutely.
Instead of going out every weekend, cut it back to two. You're still
Yeah.
having your fun, but you also are now starting to build up that nest egg that will pay for many, many more nights out well into the future if that's what you choose to do. Um,
Definitely.
I want to give you a few moments here to help, tell people how they can connect with you, as from a financial advisor aspect, your music, the whole, for more connecting with, fresh.
Okay. Man, well, you can connect with me. My website, that's my central hub right now, is defreshyourair.com. The link is in the comments. That's my artist hub. I am expanding it to include my different, I guess, ventures shortly. So there's the first place. Second, I have a financial media content company that I'm beginning. It's called Create and Own, which you can find the link in the comments as well. I'll be posting financial literacy videos from a voice that's representative of hip hop. Because I'm not into the jargon. I'm not into the acting like what I know is the holy grail and nobody else can learn it, because anybody can learn it and everybody needs to learn it, and we need to be teaching each other this stuff. So it'll all be in a language that we can all understand. I'll be talking how I talk. I listen to hip hop. I'm a hip hop head, so I'm not finna be up here talking all what people think is professional. So follow Create and Own. We're gonna build on that. And also my social media pages. Nothing too much on Twitter and Instagram. Nothing too much. No G. And the number two. I post financial literacy posts. My music on both pages. So it's a dual thing. I really just my whole goal is to revolutionize the financial industry by being a different voice and kind of having a different type of representation in this field for the next generation, to where younger kids can see a black financial advisor who listens to hip hop, who talks like them, who looks like them, who dresses like them, who's into the same things that they're into, but they're doing things that are productive and creating and hopefully inspiring that more. So that's my whole goal, to break stereotypes, open a new lane. And so yeah, man, if I can ever help with anything, I do full planning for families, business owners, young professionals, college funds, investing, life insurance, the whole nine. Feel free to give me a shout on any of my pages. Of course, you have plenty of links down below. My Facebook page is Jacoby Isham, which I'll comment on here so you can find that. Do free consultations, get together, and just look at planning and look at some ideas for some options you're looking for. But I really appreciate you, Sam, for having me, man. I know that was pretty long winded, but I appreciate you having me on, bro.
I mean, hey, definitely we got, where I look at it, we all got self promote. We ain't tooting our own horn. We gotta
Word.
be our biggest cheerleaders. And, I'm not gonna give someone the microphone. I don't think it's well deserving and well worth it. Cause
That's
like I
love.
say, I was telling you when we first talked a little while ago before the show started, we both are the same mindset, we both are the same vibe. And again, financial literacy, financial planning is going to be the key that really changes the game. Like that to me is the
Definitely.
next civil rights movement for our community is when we start
Absolutely.
getting our money right. Let's not worry about civil rights. Let's get our money right. That's what I'm on right
Straight up. Straight up. That money gonna get them civil rights right real quick.
real quick. All right, man. I know I'll say we'll keep you for a little while. I appreciate you having me on. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect. Enjoy your time, and I'll be definitely in touch with you later.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Man,
All right, y'all. Then appreciate Jacoby coming on tonight and bringing you again some real knowledge from a professional advisor. So I want to again keep bringing you guys guests that's going to hopefully bring you some other perspectives on why financial planning, investing is where we as a people, Black money market is family when we go. So what I want to touch on now is to get back into the flow of the show and go over some of what's been going on the last few days. I did a mini show to you guys Friday. Spent some time with his family. Hopefully you guys did too. Monday the market was closed. Christmas. So like, man, oh Lord God. So giving you a show again tonight. Giving you another show on Friday night. But there's been lots and lots of things going on in the crypto world. What I'm going to try to do real quick is bring up the Bitcoin price chart so we can take a look at it together. And I'll go over some of the moves and what I'm looking at, some key support levels. So, we started, I think last Wednesday we talked about how we're starting, Bitcoin was breaking down and over the weekend and beginning of this week. It dropped down to below 11,000, recovered, broke above 16,000 before kind of coming back down again. So, right now, I see this as a good consolidation period. If we look on the MACD right now, we are having a bearish crossover forming on this 4-hour chart. Um, I called out earlier, I was looking at the 15,000 support level. 15,000 was uh, was an important level for it to hold. But once it broke through, it's kind of leveled back off. It hasn't gone down to 14,000. So if it can maintain this 14.5 level that it has right now, definitely will expect it to retest 15,000. If it breaks below this 14.5, then going back down to lows of 13.5 are definitely in something that could be very reasonable to happen, especially with this bearish MACD crossover that is forming now. So key support levels I'm calling out right now be 14,000. And then if it drops below 14,000, make sure it either holds 13.5 or 13,000. If it breaks below 13,000, I don't really know how much further it will go because that means there's still a long way to go back on the bear side analysis on this. You could be looking down to 12 for the next support if it breaks below 13. Um, on the upside, we'd be looking for a move above 16.5 to kind of confirm the uh, switch back into a full bull market in Bitcoin. So my guess would be over the next 24 to 48 hours, we should see, um, I would think, a retest below this 14 level. If it holds, definitely let's see a move back up to 16. Um, in other Bitcoin news, SegWit 2x update is back. The developers that are behind the new, let's gonna find this article to let you guys know which platforms are going to be supporting it at launch. But that port should be going live tomorrow. So if you need another history of what happens if Bitcoin has a fork, what's going to happen is tomorrow, if you are using a compatible wallet or compatible platform, you will end up with Bitcoin and what is initially being called B2X, which is the SegWit 2X upgrade. So Coinbase, which initially announced its support for it back last month, is still on board. So if you are using Coinbase, you are using GMAX, you're supported there. Bittrex is another major wallet that's supported. Bittrex is another. Let me see if I go ahead and pull up this article now so I can show you guys. These are the exchanges that are going to be supporting the launch when it happens. These are the different wallet platforms that are also announcing support too. So again, tomorrow, if your wallet or your platform supports it, you'll end up with a small amount of B2X as well as B2C, BTC. So uh, we'll see how this transition goes. The positives to the SegWit update again will be larger block sizes, which will decrease transaction times as well as transaction costs. So this would be a major update to allow Bitcoin to still remain competitive as a payment method and not just as a asset of wealth, which has kind of been transformed into with such high fees and long transaction times. With the launch of Bitcoin Cash. It's been kind of the a lot of more development's been going into it because of their lower costs and faster transaction speeds. Um, Take a look here at any other articles I really wanted to pull up and show you guys. There's been a bunch of questions I've been getting the last couple of days about it. So let's see if there's any more comments on the stream. I don't really see any more comments. So I'm gonna keep tonight's show kind of shorter, wrapping this on up. We had a great quick session with Jacoby earlier. Um, Friday's show, I will, do a further deep dive into a new sector. I'll announce the sector tomorrow. I will also announce last week's, well, I'll make it this week and last week since we only had two shows last week. We're only doing two shows this week. I'll go ahead and announce this week's winner for the Bitcoin giveaway on Friday's show. So again, if you want to have a chance to win free Bitcoin, all you have to do is like the Black Money Market news page, share one of this week's or last week's episode, and comment as well. Do those four things, and you're automatically entered to win free Bitcoin. I appreciate you tuning in tonight and watching this episode of the Black Money Market News. Again, my name is Sam. Peace.